here is this incredible story being written. I can say it's incredible because it's not finished yet, so who knows how great I might make it before it's all over. It's nothing but potential until I write the end. Can you put the hood up on your pajamas while you write? Oh, I knew when I put this on, because my office is kind of cold, because the central heating doesn't come in through here, so I got like a space heater. And so in the morning it's pretty chilly in here, and I do change my shirt every day, but these pullovers are really comfortable, and Armand calls this one a pair of pajamas, so I knew he was going to say it today, but I was even tempted to go ahead and take it off and say, okay, I'll just tough it out with a shirt, but I'm not that tough, so I put this pullover on that Armand thinks is pajamas, so I just assume that means he likes it. It is pretty comfortable, which is what pajamas are. So thank you for noticing, Armand. I appreciate you keeping up with that. But we're working on Ruthless, Rabid, Raging, Ravenous, Rampaging, Remorseless, Repulsive, Revolting, Repugnant zombies. I almost laughed through that whole thing because I'm still thinking about Armand talking about my pajamas. All right, so let's get down to the last beat of action. We are in the middle. All right, I'm not trying to make anyone dizzy by scrolling too fast. All right, we are at chapter 18. I don't want to read all of chapter 18. Although, should I? Maybe I should. It's basically just maybe 2 pages. All right. That's probably the best way to get myself back into the story. And then we're going to jump forward. I have a word count goal. So my word count goal is to get to a minimum of 40,000 words. I could tell the ending of the story was getting tight in the sense that 50,000 words is approaching rapidly. I got 5 more days before the 20th, which was my goal to be done with the novel, not just the 50,000 words. And so I went ahead and wrote out the notes for the remainder of the book. And it's a little more than I've been writing each day in terms of page count, but that's not like page count on my notes here. But that's not a real accurate measure of like how many words each of those sections make, because some of that's dialogue, which wouldn't take as much. I don't expand on dialogue very much, but I went ahead and wrote to the end. A lot of it, once you get to editing, a lot of that stuff gets cut because you figure out the conversations don't need to be quite as long. But for the drafting purposes, I'm going to get it all in there, and then I can decide what I want to take out or what needs to be expanded when I redo this. With NaNoWriMo, it's great to get a novel done in a month, but there really needs to be a national editing month or a national editing season, quarter, where you spend some time really going back through those NaNoWriMo novels and fixing them. So I'm going to set it aside when I'm done with it on the 20th, however many hours it takes me to hit that ending of the actual novel. And then I'm going to pick it back up in the new year and work on it for a couple months solid to try to make it as good as it can possibly be before I look at where I'm going to publish it. But all that being said, I finished out my notes till the end of the novel, and then I split the number of pages in the notebook, which again is not real accurate, to split it into fifths. So essentially I'm have the same number of pages per day that I'd like to get through from my notes, however many pages or words that gets to. It's a little more than I've done each time, so I may end up going past my word count goals by a good bit just trying to get the novel done in the next 5 days. So we'll just see how that goes. I may not expand as much knowing that I got all those pages to cover as we go forward, but we'll see how that works out. All that to say, let's pick up at the beginning of the chapter we just started and then lead ourselves back into the action. The deeper of the two voices, again, Waldo is kind of inadvertently buried himself into a pile of bones, fighting these zombies, having to kill some of them with bones. And then these shooters, in this territory that he's not real clear about what's going on, where they're trying to clear out all these zombies that Waldo accidentally let in for a variety of reasons. So he's trying to kind of hide from these guys, but they're kind of up in his space, so he's kind of in some pretty deep danger, even though the zombies aren't the immediate danger right now. The deeper of the two voices said, whoever is responsible for this is going to get spiked in the street for sure. Waldo had an idea of where the zombie, I don't want to say that, where that zoo, no, I don't want to say zoo, that's kind of a mess. Alright, where that undead art installation out there. No, yeah, that would be good. Waldo had an idea of where that undead art installation out in the market area had come from. Deep voice. Let's make, since we're calling him that, we'll make that capitalized too. Deep voice added after a pause. They'll probably let them die slow too. That's a little awkward, but I'll fix it later. What the F happened? This second voice was not as deep, but was full of gravel. The chain link gave rolled again. Gave a screech as it rolled again. Okay. I guess that's what I wanted to say. Who knows what I wanted to say? That was yesterday, Jay. I have no idea what he was writing. Editing Jay has lots of problems with First Draft Jay. He just does not deliver every time on every sentence. All right. Waldo couldn't tell whether it was opening wider or sliding closed again. He just tried his best not to move or to breathe too loudly. Something did pass through his line of sight. A zombie in a bloody dress moved by. She sounded like she walked on bare feet, slapping the ground quietly, but let's say padding. Slapping sounds like too much force. Padding along the ground quietly. And let's, instead of ground, let's say concrete. But Waldo couldn't see down that far. One shot startled him again, and she pitched backward hard enough to kick her bare feet into Waldo's view. She was missing most of her toes along jagged black wounds. As she landed out of sight and Waldo's ears rung, one of the men said, "Stop wasting the bullets. We're going to have them all on top of us too." Let's say you're going to have them all on top of us too. That's correct. All right, Waldo didn't pick up which one of them said it. Deep voice. All right, I got to capitalize that V again if I'm going to call him. If that's going to be his name. Mr. Voice. First name Deep. Deep Voice spoke next as Waldo's ears cleared enough to tell it was him. Someone effed up on the patrol. Effed up big. Two men, too large to see fully as they passed Waldo's specific line of sight, stepped beyond his pile in the passage toward the main street, still humming with the growls of thousands of undead. One of them passed by again, say coming back, and from the sounds and the shift of his body weight, Waldo judged he was moving the corpses with his boot. Let's say with his boots. Maybe that was where all these bones came from. That didn't make a whole lot of sense, though, because these bones looked old and clean with no rags of clothing mixed in. Gravel Voice said, "Jesus Christ, look at that pack coming from the north. Who was patrolling and sweeping out there?" Deep Voice, again, I don't know why I don't keep... They must be the Voice Brothers. Gravel and Deep, the Voice Brothers, new comedy team. Oh, that high is, I believe, Armand's emoji there. So he got affiliate yesterday, and his first emoji went up. So we got an Armand high and a Jay Wilburn exclamation face. Oh, and of course Daniel's here with his snake head. So very good job making all those emotes dance around the screen. It's like making it rain digitally. All right. Okay, where were the Voice Brothers? Gravel Voice and Deep Voice. Deep Voice hummed and then answered, "Pete and Crow." Maybe that explains it, Gravel said. Waldo thought of the Dyer truck and wondered if that was Pete and Crow. They did seem like mess makers. They both got themselves bitten, as far as Waldo could see, before he ended up here hiding in a pile of bones. Okay, hopefully, this is how a story gets long. I keep adding crap in. Hopefully, he would not be joining the pile permanently. Say on a permanent basis. But hope was thin in the apocalypse. How was that for a line for the ages? Put that on a t-shirt, I say. Alright. Not sure anything else. I'm not sure anything explains this shit. Deep grunted as he towed a few more bodies aside. Wait, what the hell is this? Deep moved closer to Waldo's hiding spot. Gravel turned as he spoke a single word. What? This, Deep said, very close now. A body near Waldo was kicked and the bone shifted. His tunnel out of the pile to the rest of the world narrowed. That was fine with him, as he didn't want to see and let's say, why don't I just stutter over this sentence the whole time? Did you guys come here to hear that? That was fine with him, as he really didn't want to see, and let's say definitely. Anytime you're editing in adverbs, you know you're doing a bad job. Just keep that in mind as you watch me do this. And definitely didn't want to be seen. Deep added, they all have bones sticking out of their eyes and ears. That was Waldo's doing. So now that there's some suspicious dead zombies around where Waldo's hiding. The ones over here have bullet holes through their heads, Gravel said. I'm talking about the ones over... Okay. No, let's say... Taking out words. That's how you reach a word count. These have bullet holes through their heads, Gravel said. These all have bullet holes through their heads. Alright, I'm talking about the ones over here. Look, Gravel's feet approached. From the sound of it, the ground was wet. Yeah, weird. Let's get in position and be sure no more of them come this way. His gravelly voice retreated again. All this shit will have to be reset, not rest. Reset, you know. I hope Pete and Crow get their dicks eaten off before they get spiked. My apologies to any sensitive viewers watching here. We got a zombie story going, and they're cussing a lot and getting gross and all that. There was a pause. Gravel spoke again. What's wrong? Come on. It's more than weird. Deep was leaning over Waldo's spot. He couldn't see the guy, but he was right on Waldo. How'd these things get stabbed in the eyes like this? Probably shrapnel from bullets flying. Way too many bullets. You got me? You get me? There's no other holes in the heads, Deep insisted. 2 shots roared into the ground near Waldo's feet. Skin, hair, and blackened brains spit up into the air past Waldo's, let's say, closing view on the world. Okay, we'll say bones made for poor windows. That's a good line. Looks like I knew what I was doing the first time I wrote it. He tried his best to stay very, very still. Whenever you're trying to get a word count going, you do very, very. Also, this has nothing to do with what I'm doing, but the idea of repeating words for word count. The term "more bang for your buck." Back in the Great Depression, when the pulp westerns were a big deal, writers were paid 1 cent per word regularly. Now that alone should be depressing to all of us. That back in the 1930s, during the Great Depression, writers were consistently paid 1 cent per word anytime they published something. So file that away, all writers who know how writing pay works now. So to get more bang for their buck, when they had a character fire a gun, instead of just writing bang, they would write bang bang. And that's pretty common now, when kids are playing and that kind of thing, the idea of doing 2 bangs instead of 1. And the reason they did 2 bangs instead of 1 was so they could get that 1 extra penny every time a character fired their gun. So that's where more bang for your buck came from. You can do the same thing with berries, I guess. Waldo's ears rung again, but he could still make out Gravel saying, "What, feel better? I will when I'm sure they're all dead." Quiet followed. Waldo tried to listen closer. The explosion next to his head was so very loud, another very, that it blew something up inside Waldo's right ear. The pain penetrated through his ear, let's say canal. Well, let's say canal, let's spell it correctly while we're here. Through his ear canal and into his skull, leading Waldo's disconnected thoughts not his thoughts to think, his thoughts to decide, deduce. Maybe that's good. I'll try not to fixate on that one word. Deduce that he'd been shot or stabbed through the ear hole. Nothing else could rectify that amount of pain in his mind at that moment. The entire pile of bones around him pulsed with the force of it. The force of its passing. The head of the oozing zombie over Waldo and slightly to the right burst into a cloud of spray. He felt it on his face, but barely registered it through his agony, through his all-encompassing agony. The bones within his sight changed shades from all that splatter. Okay. No, let's do all that misty spatter. So that'll be a little bit different. Okay, the bones in the path of that bullet shattered down to the concrete where the slug finally stopped, taking Waldo's hearing on that side with it. Bone chips stung his neck. But that was the very least of his concerns at that point in his life. All right. He thought his ears rang before. Now the entire world was a high-pitched note. I think high-pitched needs to be hyphenated. That drowned out most other sounds to muffled background noise. Instead of noise, let's say snow. Background snow. Static? Static sounds more electrical. I'm going to use it anyway. Kind of has a bristly feel, the word does, so that may be what I want. As the... Okay, let's... instead of muffled, because it would be muffled, we'll say bristly. And let's see if I can spell it right. Bristly background static. As that screaming ring filled the right side of his head with unending pain, Waldo wanted to stab a bone through it just to make it stop. From a great distance, Gravel shouted through the muffled curtain of Waldo's damaged hearing. Why? That was the question of the ages, wasn't it? Why? Not what. Why any of this? We just said the question's why. Why did I change it to what? Why any of this? Why keep going on like this? I want to be sure they're all down for good. If Deep had been any further away, Waldo would have picked up none of that statement. If he did survive this, which seemed darkly laughable at that moment, what was it going to be like navigating a world full of zombies while Waldo dealt with damaged hearing? Let's say gravely damaged. Okay. Through the slice of light Waldo could still see, the bore of the weapon passed slowly over his face from right to left. The head of another dispatched zombie, with the blunt end of a bone sticking out of its eye socket, shifted as the barrel of Deep Voice's rifle rested against the back of the skull. This body was slightly to Waldo's left, but not far enough for Waldo to avoid eating the pass-through. He was firmly in the path of the coming shot. Waldo cared more about the horrible, painful sound than he did the prospect of being shot. He wanted his fingers in his ears more than he cared about anything else. The bones parted as he moved his hands. He didn't care about discovery or escape, really. Let's say in his panic. In his panic. Okay, let's make that a comma. In his panic, he didn't really care about discovery or escape, really. He couldn't bear to touch his right ear when he felt blood trickling out past the tips of his fingers. With all that zombie brain gore over his right fist, it wouldn't be good to stick those fingers in his ear anyway. Only after he plugged his left ear did he decide to move to the right a little. Another blast, but this one was heavily muffled. Still, his right ear, that barely registered the noise of it to his brain, sparked with a new wave of terrible pain. His body shifted down deeper into the pile as more bones behind and under him broke apart and turned into powder. Okay, so that's where we are. All right. Black ichor. I think I've used that word before, so it's not really the kind of word you can use more than once in a story before people notice it. Black ichor. I've already used oozed too, but that's alright. Black ichor oozed through the pile from the misshapen head onto Waldo's skin. It almost, let's say his flushed skin. It almost felt good as it cooled him under the rising heat in his hiding place. Alright, I was going to make some comment about it being his tomb. No, let's say that. In his hiding place in this outdoor tomb. That's good. That's good stuff. Alright. Moving along. Alright. Here's where he comes in more danger. The rifle pivot to the center and eased forward until it touched Waldo's forehead. Where the leaking zombies cooled him. Did we just get to Friends reference? I think so, man. That's the quality entertainment we're offering here today. Where the leaking zombies... They should have done a zombie episode in Friends. The one about the zombies. Where the leaking zombies cooled him, the bore of the weapon was a hot circle against his brow. this was it, one way or the other. Either he sat here and died, or he forced his way out to fight two armed men, twice his size. Either way, the massive pain in his tortured ear was likely over soon. Don't forget the pack and the people who need it. Alright, so we will italicize that as a thought and to make it stand out. So he has to have a reason to live and a reason that he may not want to go on living. Alright. Stop wasting bullets. Gravel yelled. They take that stuff out of our rations. Stop it. Alright. So we need to give him a reason not to shoot. Okay. No one is counting bullets today. Deep said. On the other end of that weapon. Okay. Waldo prepared to push himself up and out of the pile for whatever consequences that reveal would bring. Likely deep voice would think it was a moving zombie and pull the trigger. Yeah, that's all he needs to do, right? Do you prefer italicized thoughts with or without tags at the end? Okay, it does. Well, there's a couple things. One is that if you're writing a story, no matter how many characters there are, really the POV character should be the only one you're getting thoughts from. And ideally, even if you're switching POVs, which is tricky anyway, each chapter should only have one POV character. So even if you're switching between points of view, you should stick to one point of view character in a chapter. Generally, every rule has a reason to be broken, but readers don't like it as much when you break those kind of rules. But when you have the established POV character, which is easier here because it's one character for me, I tend to do the italicized thoughts without tags, because partly because I think the more you can avoid tags anyway is good. So if you can write dialogue without a tag every single time, then that's better too, I think. So if you can have a conversation going and just use just enough tags to where people realize who's talking during the back and forth where you don't lose track of it. That's ideal. So in the spirit of fewer tags being better, generally, I usually do thoughts without the tags because the italics tends to pull it out already. And if you've established who the POV character is, then it shouldn't be confusing who their thoughts are. But I will sometimes use the tags as well. But my preference is what I've just done there with the thoughts pulled out. And I usually use them as an aside. So a lot of times, if I'm injecting humor or like sort of meta commentary on it, where the character is noticing some bizarre thing that the reader would probably notice, and you're kind of letting the reader know that we're all in on it. I realize this is over the top, so you have the character think, man, this is over the top, or something like that. I'll usually use the italicized thoughts for that, to kind of almost be like the characters thinking the way the readers would think, and that kind of thing. So generally without the tags is my preference, although it's not a hard fast rule every single time. All right, let me turn off my heater real quick. I finally warmed up the office. My only other choice is to take off what Armand calls my pajama top. All right. Likely Deep Voice would think it was a moving zombie and pull the trigger. Waldo's best bet might be to move the barrel to the side first. But he couldn't bear to have another bullet pass by his ear. Okay. So Waldo may not make it out of this, is the look we're going for. They always count bullets. Gravel insisted. Okay. Just stop it. I think this one under here is still moving. Alright, so now he's got a reason to shoot Waldo. He didn't have one before. Zombies don't play dead. Zombies don't play dead, shithead. Let's go. All your pot shots cost us. They cost me. And now you got more of them coming this way. Let's get in position. Sorry, I'm trying to get this done. I want to make it realistic why he doesn't pull the trigger. Let's get in position while we still can. Alright. The barrel retreated from Waldo's head in the pile of bones, so he remained still. He tried to convince himself that he never intended to just sit there and die. Okay, so that's a little dark. Let's keep going. fine, Deep said. Pull the gate too, but don't lock it. I want to be able to get out of here in a hurry without you fumbling for your keys. The gate screeched a little, and Waldo closed his eyes tight to try to ride out the pain that noise brought. Let's say gravel passed by as he spoke. Whatever you have to tell yourself. Come on. It's getting busy. Alright. Now, we saved Waldo from being shot. Isn't that that's a fine day's work. Okay, pull the gate. Gate rattled. The gunshots began again, closer to the mouth of this passage. Waldo wished he'd never entered. He couldn't take any more effing noise. He folded forward, heaving bodies aside. He folded forward, heaving bodies aside, and rising out of the bones. It was a bit like freeing himself from heavy sand. If he had to get out of here before he got shot, he'd be dead. Okay, Waldo crawled out of the alcove over sticky bodies that leaked like sponges. When he pressed a knee or hand onto them. The two behemoths the two armed behemoths stood side by side with their backs to Waldo. They wore ear and eye protection. bastards, Waldo whispered. His own voice hurt inside his head. Okay, now we have an injured hero here, so this is going to play into the rest of the story. Waldo tried to stand multiple times, but he couldn't find his center of gravity. He ended up crawling through the puddles of spoiled blood until he could use the chain link gate to pull himself up. Let's say the gate was pushed to just shy of a few inches from clothes and latched into a key lock plate that Waldo had missed the first time he came here to climb over. He checked to see. Okay, hold on a second. Make sure my phone isn't dying. He checked to see that the men still had their backs to him as they popped off shots into the zombies flowing toward them from the wider street. Those shots were strangely dull in Waldo's remaining hearing. He very slowly pushed the gate open, inch by inch, so he could slip through. Okay. "I'm out," Deep yelled. Reload. Reload then. Okay. Waldo eased the gate open just a bit wider along its track. All right. Deep voice complained. "No, I mean, I'm out. All right, we will italicize the first out to kind of emphasize how I'm trying to say that. No, I'm out. All right. What the hell did I tell you about wasting bullets? Alright, so this character's going to pay for the extra shots he took and the ones that hurt Waldo directly. Get one off my belt without feeling me up too much. Alright. Waldo pressed through the opening he had created. As his pack passed over the support bar, the gate gave another couple inches of shrill shriek. Really needed to be oiled. The sound didn't just hurt Waldo's ear, Waldo's bad ear. Now he's a guy who has a bad ear. The sound didn't just hurt Waldo's bad ear. It caused his vision to waver. Like the brick walls took on some melted curves. Before going back straight again. Hey. Well, I need only one set of quotation marks there. Hey. Who are you? Deep voice ran toward him, leaving Gravel to do all the shooting. Light danced down the length of the... Oh, I screwed up. No, okay. Light danced down the length of a bayonet deep held. Light danced down a bayonet deep held in his left hand instead of on the end of his gun, held down at his right. Get back here. Gravel turned enough to show the blade attached to his rifle. Then he swiveled forward to resume shooting. The zombies climbing over the bodies of the ones... Alright, need to fix then, sorry. Bodies of the ones they'd already put down. Okay. Waldo pushed the gate closed. He couldn't, let's say not couldn't, he didn't hear it, but he felt the lock latch into place. He staggered. Okay, yeah. He staggered away from the chain link as deep voice slammed into it. Let's say using the walls. No, I'm going to keep that the same paragraph. It's not exactly the same thought, but I'm going to keep it going anyway. Using the walls to keep from falling as the passage beyond the gate kept trying. Okay, let's spell beyond correctly. Make my life easier later. Using the walls to keep from falling as the passage beyond the gate kept trying to tilt away from him. Waldo couldn't seem to stop tripping over the bodies on this side. Deep rattled the gate. Keys. Bring me the keys. Hurry. Gravel used his bayonet. Gravel used his bayonet to spear the zombies on him as they pushed him backward. Help me. Alright. Deep aimed at Waldo through the chain link. Nope, let me have that happen like earlier so he realizes that he's out. Alright. Waldo pushed the gate closed, deep slammed into it. Deep voice fed the barrel of his weapon through the fencing and pulled the trigger. Nothing happened because he was the one who wasted bullets. Deep rattled the gate. Keys, bring me keys, help me. Okay, now we're back to here. Oh shit. Deep turned around in time to see Gravel fall to his back and vanish under the pile. That side of the alley was so thick with the monsters now that others poured around both sides of the feeding without realizing gravel was even there. Waldo paused at the end of the walls and stared in wonder across a vast space cut into a rough grid of pallets, containers, and storage units of all sizes. This seemed to go on forever, and he had no idea where to go next. All right. They screamed loud enough for even him to hear. Okay, Deep tried to climb the tall fencing above the gate, but his hands and feet were too big to get a grip. The zombies pulled him down. He did, let's say for a short while. For a short while, he did an admirable job of knocking them down with the butt of his empty rifle. But the zombies got him in the end. Blood, much fresher than the stuff puddled on the ground, spurted through the fence behind Deep Voice, who never spoke again. There we go. Alright, so Waldo lives and he doesn't. Okay, I had a lot of extra beats here. That was enough. Alright, let me add something up in here. Across the vast space, they screamed. Deep tried to climb the fence. They had two grip. Okay, let me... Jorts. Waldo whispered. The enormous man appeared to be all muscle under his hairy arms, legs, let's say calves, and chest appeared, no, not appeared, he just did, wore jean shorts. He had all sorts of tactical gear around his waist and over his black vest, but his pale legs below the knees stood exposed. All right. Never spoke again. Before he was dragged down, Waldo saw a undead teen girl crawl along between the mob's legs and the gate to take a healthy bite out of the man's exposed calf. All right. Okay. Effin' jorts. Waldo muttered as he stumbled out through the aisles between stacked goods on pallets and huge rusty shipping containers. You should never wear jorts in a zombie apocalypse, he thought. All right, here I'm using the tags because again I want to split the idea a little. Hey, don't make fun of jorts. You should never wear jorts in a zombie apocalypse. You should probably never wear them ever once you are older than 8 years old. Okay. Again, this is Waldo talking. I have no particular problem with jorts. It's just that's a character choice for Waldo. Okay. All right. So more jorts. He made it only a few yards. Tom Duffy likes that. He made it only a few yards down the space between stacks before he lost his balance again. Waldo's sense of the world tended to waver one way or the other now, so that he couldn't really adjust for it. As he dropped to his knees on the clean white concrete, the impact of the landing stabbed into his ear with tortured agony. I probably already used that, so I may take it out later. Waldo folded his arm and pressed it over his right ear as he hissed through the pain. Okay. His eyes already burned. His eyes already burned with tears. His eyes already burned with tears before he realized they were flowing. There was no shame in it, but for the first time today, he felt a crushing despair that was too much to stand under. I'll never make it. He confessed to no one. To no one around. I'll never make it. It's not possible. It's just not. As his hearing had been reduced to stinging been reduced to ringing noise. His vision blurred with his sorrow. Okay, there we go. He took the pack off his shoulders as an excuse to delay returning to his feet, to his unsure feet. He wiped his eyes with the cleaner of his two arms and unzipped the top of the pack. A dark thought at the bottom of his wandering mind actually hoped it was all broken, so he'd have a real excuse to give up. When he saw it was all fine, everything inside had survived, he breathed a sigh of relief. Despairing or not, he cared about the people who needed this. He wasn't dead yet, so he had to keep trying. Even if it was crawling for the rest of his miserable life. All right. Oh, good Lord, I got so much left to do. 1, 2, 3. Oh, I guess that's all right. Okay. All right. All right. I can't remember. I don't think the girl has already seen what's in the bag. I'm going to add a piece in here that I might have to take out because I can't remember if I've already done it. I don't think I have. He zipped up. No. He started to rise. No, he didn't start to rise. Let's just have him do it. He rose to his feet and waited for his balance to return before thinking about zipping up the pack again. Alright, now here we go. I need to add something else in here. Voices echoed in the distance, maybe to his left. He couldn't trust his senses to locate sounds anymore. Gunshots popped from everywhere. Those noises he did recognize. Alright, so now he rose again. Okay, and all that. Stop. That voice was close, and his despair grew heavy again. Alright. Good stuff. Let's get to the next chapter. Boom, boom, boom. That was chapter 18, so now we're on 19. That's how numbers work, right? I've been writing this for so long, I don't remember how numbers work anymore. Okay, so chapter 19. Waldo hung his head. Standing was taking great effort. Fighting would be difficult for him now. But he whispered under his breath, without realizing the thought was coming out loud. Whoever that is, one of us dies before this is over. Okay. Okay. She stepped round into his view. She'd redone the tight braid on her head with no loose strands of hair sticking out anymore. With her blade, with her unusual blade sheathed at her side, she looked young enough to be a kid playing a part, pretending to be some kind of warrior. She probably was exactly that young, but in this world comma, there was no pretending anymore. Here she was, his shadow from this impossible of days. You survived. She said. Then she looked him up and down. In a pointed way. Well, I guess you did. Your ear is bleeding. You're covered in every flavor of zombie stuff. Are you bitten or scratched? Waldo was surprised he still had any skin left after today. He cleared his throat twice. Before he said, "I'm everything except bitten." Are you bitten? Let's not say scratched. Let's say shot. Are you bitten or shot? We'll make that a question mark since it's a question. That's how the kids do it these days, putting question marks at the end of questions. He cleared his throat, we'll spell that correctly, twice before he said, I'm everything except bitten and shot. Okay. She stared at him with her hand on the hilt of her blade. Waldo spoke with a little more certainty. No, I'm not bitten. Glancing into the open mouth of the pack and back up at him, she asked, is that what I think it is? It's for people who need it, not me. I'm sure it is. Did you find it here? I don't know where the hell here is, girl. I found it where I found it. I need to get it out of here. Out of this city to people who need it. I think I can't find it when I look back through, but I think I've already had this conversation with them. Of course, I've been writing things down, so I probably remember it from before. Is that really what I think it is? Really? Okay, is that really what I think it is? And I'll make that emphasis here. That way, if they've already had this conversation, maybe I can finesse it so they're kind of having it again. All right. Out of this city to the people who need it. Okay. They can use it. I would think so, she said. All right, so that's a tag to kind of remind everybody who's talking to who in case they lost track. They helped people I really cared about, Waldo said. Important people to me. So I'm helping them. She reached up and touched him with 2 fingers on his shoulder. When she pulled her hand away, Waldo realized he had been drifting in that direction. He would have fallen. You would have fallen otherwise. He silently stressed about his chances of ever getting this stuff where it needed to go. Alright. If I go back through on the edit and find that I actually had a brief conversation between them about this, I might change her first line to, "I really can't believe that's what I think it is." And then it would be a reference back as opposed to her discovering it for the first time. "You don't want to be here. She said. These are bad people. Waldo tended... Okay, let me fix one little thing there. Waldo tended to agree based on his brief interactions so far. Okay. Why are you here? She narrowed her eyes, shook her head, and looked off and up to his left, to her left. Had to get clear of a bunch of zombies. Some guy keeps leading around the city. No matter how hard I try to get away. Waldo rolled his eyes and regretted it as he nearly lost his balance again. I'm having him have balance problems to kind of justify him getting his eardrum blown out or whatever actually happened to him. A couple guys in a truck did this. What? Never mind. He extended his right hand. I'm Waldo. She just stared at his hand without offering hers. Did she not remember handshakes? Then he really looked at his own arm, painted in red and black with all sorts of smeared patterns in that coating of gunk. He considered offering his left hand, but he recalled all the things he had handled with it today too. He tried nervously to wipe off his hands on what remained of his ragged clothes. Small bones. Okay, I'm going to keep this the same paragraph. Small bones spilled out of his pockets. This wasn't his day. Okay. All right. So we've got all that in there the way I want it. We may be in good shape for finishing close to 40,000 and not too far over. It's weird to be writing for NaNoWriMo and be worried about going over. But I want to finish this up in the next 5 days, so I'm trying to pace the story out. Okay, I don't need all that. Sorry about that. Sorry, he said. I fisted a zombie earlier this morning. What? What? She snapped at him. Okay, wait. He's still holding a backpack. I need to remember that. All right. He considered offering his left hand that currently held the open backpack. Okay. What? She snapped at him. No, that's not what I mean. All right. Okay, we're doing good. I don't know what that means. She was young and had grown up in the age of zombies, not in the age of internet access and streaming. Good. That's good. I mean that I punched he made a punching motion in the air with his gory right fist as he tried to come up with the words to explain himself. Okay. I saw you punch one through the head this morning. She said. It's been all disaster for you since then. You should really get a knife. You should really get a knife there, Blood Fist. He took a moment to zip up the pack, looking down at his bloody fist. He figured he had gotten worse nicknames in his life. That one was actually pretty badass. If you hadn't seen him bumbling his way through the city all day. Okay. Bum, bum, bum. Let's move this along to our stopping point. As he shouldered the pack again, he said, "Well, my name is Waldo. What's yours?" Okay. A man stepped around from the front corner of a shipping container towering to Waldo's left. Okay, where did the scene break go? Okay, I had there, all the way to there. Alright. If you say so, Jay. Okay. A man stepped out from around the corner of the container. Actually, could I break that earlier? Where did I do 19? Okay, 19 hadn't been going very long, so it doesn't hurt to have short chapters, but it's probably better to have chapters that are consistent lengths. Alright. Man stepped around the corner of the container, towering to Waldo's left. Lexus. I just knew we'd find you creeping around eventually. Didn't know you would make it so effing easy, though. She reached for her blade, but he closed the distance so fast that it caused Waldo's vision to waver again, and he drifted upon his feet. Okay. Almost ignoring Waldo, the guy who was closer to her age than Waldo's, locked, let's say closed, no, I already used closed, locked his hand over hers to keep the blade sheathed. He pushed the much smaller girl backward. Let's say the much smaller girl he called Lexus. He called Lexus backward into a pile of crates on a pallet to Waldo's right. He then bent her over backward against the top edge of those crates. Lexus showed her teeth and squinted her eyes up at her aggressor's face. Okay. Waldo took a step toward them, but the guy used his free hand to point a handgun around his side at Waldo without really looking. Okay. Don't. All right. Don't. Both of you chill. I don't know what you're thinking coming here. But you picked the worst possible day to F with us, you stupid little, okay, let me do a M dash, which requires 3 button pushes to get, even though it's commonly used by writers. I don't know what you're thinking coming here, but you picked the worst possible day to F with us, you stupid little, and he should pay for trying to call her names. Alright. The bone stabbed deep into his ear, into the guy's ear, with such practiced precision from all of Waldo's earliest struggles. He still had bone shards. He still had even more bone shards in his pockets. But this was the sharpest one he could find. The gun roared and the shot passed harmlessly to Waldo's right, zinging off at least 3 metal, no, let's say at least 2 metal and 1 stone surface behind him. The concussive noise did all the harm. Waldo cried out and staggered to his left until he slammed into the ribbed side of the container with a... Alright, Jay, come on. You're almost done today. Just keep spelling some things right and you will be finished. Cried out and staggered to his left until he slammed into the ribbed side of the container with a hollow boom. Waldo covered his right ear with both hands as he moaned in pain. Lexus, between the bone stabbing, let's say bone stabbing and the stray shot, drove her blade straight up under the guy's chin and used the leverage of her hilt to lift him away from her before she dumped him off the end to bleed out on that clean white concrete. She snatched up the gun from the ground next to the dead man's open hand. Lexus made it disappear, and then grabbed Waldo rough by the shoulder. He startled, but didn't pull away from her. Okay, as she eased him away from the support of the container, she spoke toward his left ear. Let's say his uncovered left ear. Can you move? All right. And I'm at my page goal in my notes for day 16. If I do roughly that many pages each day until the 20th, I'll be done, regardless of how many words it takes. But my goal today was 40, and I'm at 40,232, so I paced that pretty well. Looking at tomorrow's, I'll finish this chapter and get partway through the next one. Yeah. And if I can hit all those pages, all those points, I'll have the story told the way I want and be finished, and almost definitely over 50,000 words. But this was pretty close today, so I didn't blow way past, which again was what I wanted. I don't want to drag the story out just to drag it out, but I think we're telling the story I want to tell, and that's really all I want. All right, so looking at my NaNoWriMo for Ruthless, Rabid, Raging, Ravenous, Rampaging, Remorseless, Repulsive, Revolting Zombies, I'm at, I forgot already. That's what happens when you have memory loss. 40,232. 40,232. I am at 40,232 words, and I am completely happy with that progress, and I will update. All right, Armand, are you still going to be on to do NaNoWriMo numbers for us after the 20th, going back to normal Twitch schedule for the rest of the month, or taking off? I'm going to go back, well, roughly I'm going to go back to normal Twitch schedule. My normal schedule is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Those times are the same as this extended every day of the week schedule I've been on. So Tuesdays is at 10:15 like it is now. Wednesdays at 3:15. Thursdays is usually a movie watch party at 8:15 p.m. Eastern Time, all Eastern Time. I'm going to go back to that normal schedule, but for the week of Thanksgiving, I'm only doing the Tuesday. I'm going to take the Wednesday, Thursday off. So I'll be done on the 20th, which is a Saturday, and then 3 days later on the 23rd, I'll do another stream that's going to be the short stories that I left off with and a new short story. I'll also, that stream, I'm going to look at an article that I wrote last year after I live streamed my novel that I wrote that year, which still isn't finished, but that's beside the point. I did an article for Lit Reactor where I talked about the lessons I learned from live streaming my NaNoWriMo, and for my next stream on the 23rd, after I'm done with Nano, I'm going to, in addition to writing my stories, I'm going to look at that article and talk about the lessons I learned that time and what I know differently now to kind of update. But as part of that, I'm also going to go back and do the numbers update. So I'm going to do that on the 23rd. And then I'm taking off for Thanksgiving. And either on the 30th or maybe December 1st, I'll do another one. So I'll definitely do an update on the 23rd where I check in on everyone. But I think, because basically we're up on Thanksgiving and then on into the end of the month, which is why I wanted to finish on the 20th, I'll do another one at the end at least. So at least two more after the 20th. So the 20th, the 23rd, and if there's not another one more for sure on the 30th or the 1st. Probably the 1st. because that's going to be a normal streaming day for me anyway, and that makes the most sense because people who are doing a last minute push to finish up on the 30th, I want to give them credit too. So definitely at least 3 more. But yesterday I spent a lot of time talking about, I should get my 40,000 word badge today. I spent a lot of time talking about the backup system that I use on Trello for my stories, and I didn't really update on a lot of people. And looking earlier, it appeared that a number of folks had already updated for yesterday and a few for today. So I want to give credit to all. Yeah, I want to give credit to my buddies who have put in a lot of work. Oscar Jones. So let's take a look at him again. Oscar Jones with Demons and Disaster, a fantasy novel, is at 40,153 words. So that is excellent work. Checking on some other buddies. Let's look here. Not updated. He's the same place. Tom Duffy. Our good friend Tom Duffy. All right, Tom Duffy, writing the light fantastic horror supernatural, is at 36,469 words, and that doesn't even include what he's going to be writing today. So very good job, Tom. We're all going to be finishing a little early if we keep this up. We're going to turn NaNoWriMo into a 20-day activity instead of a 30-day activity. Let's look at Armand Rosamilia. And he's updated a couple times. So he updated yesterday since last time I checked, and he's updated again today. So let's look at where he is. On Man Down, First Coast Thrillers, Book 3. He's already got Book 1 up for pre-order for January 13th. He finished Book 2 here recently. So that's going to go through editing and be ready to go, I'm assuming not too terribly long after the first. Should hit 40K by the end of the day. That's what you're talking about, man. That's a big push, but already he's at 33,656. Now, I'm going to give Armand credit that he's written over 50,000 words, well over 50,000 words this month, but it's on a number of projects. So now that his full focus is on this in terms of NaNoWriMo, I think this novel's going to fly. So I think maybe it's looked like he's not making as much progress as he did, but essentially he finished writing the previous book and is already 33,656 words into the next book, and will be 40,000 before the end of the day. Tom Duffy should hit 40K by the end of the day as well. So all these overambitious fellows are looking at a 20-day finish in terms of the goal, but Armand is writing more than 50,000 words for Man Down Book 3. So finishing 50,000 words on the 20th is part of a bigger goal to finish that novel in short order. And so my guess is his plan with these thrillers is to not have a ton of time between Book 1 being released, Book 2 being released, Book 3 being released. So readers who are interested in that series are going to find something special and be able to really follow along and not have to wait a lot of time between books like many different series force you to do. All right, so let's check out a few more folks here. All right, still kind of in the same place. Author PC3, my first time on Twitch, figured it was time to check it out. What's up, Jay? Thanks for being here. I appreciate you entering this strange realm. If you want to look around Twitch, you can find a lot of video games, a lot of artists, and then a few of us authors that are doing something crazy that's meant to be done in private. We're just kind of exposing our whole writing thing. And also be sure to check, if you haven't already, be sure to check out Armand Rosamilia's stream. He'll stream again on Wednesday, I believe, and then also on Friday. He's Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and you can see him work. And he has a lot of great people in his chat as well that make it a lot of fun. I always enjoy jumping over there.